Well, Julie Stackhouse, I cannot believe it. We already are starting to talk about the Gate River Run. We are exactly 1 month away. How excited are you for this?
I'm so excited. I get to wear a little bit different hat this year, so I can't wait to talk to you more about that. And you're going to run the 15K for the first time. How are you feeling?
I'm nervous. Wish I was a little more into my training, but I think I'll be good for this. I get to take over the Julie Cam this year. I'm so honored to do that. So I'll be running the race, and you will be anchoring with Jamal down at the start finish line. So I'm excited. I will be so excited to see you at the end of the race because then I know it's complete. But let's talk about we are 1 month away. Just what are kind of the overview that runners, if they've never ran before or if they've ran this before, just to keep in mind for this 15K?
Yeah, I think one thing I always like to point out when we're a month away is people start to get that feeling of almost needing to cram in missed runs or missed workouts. We had the holidays and there was some cold weather a week or so ago. And so a lot of people have had disruptions in their plan that they had. And that's okay. I always tell people it doesn't have to be perfect to be good. So, but at this point, the most important thing is to get to the line healthy, and 1 month is plenty of time to do that. So even if you're feeling like you're a little bit behind, I would recommend kicking this weekend off with a 5K, and we have a perfect opportunity in town to do that.
Yeah, so this weekend is the Donna 5K half marathon in Jack's Beach. Like if people want to sign up, which they can, today's Friday, they can go to the expo and sign up if they'd like. What's then the kind of mindset for this run on Sunday to prepare for a month from now? Like, or should they be trying to go as fast as they possibly can and just seeing how long it takes them to run the 5K, or should they try to, just go for an easy run?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it depends on where you are. If you've run a 5K before, then you can use this opportunity. I believe the 5K is on Saturday and then the
Okay.
half and the full are on Sunday. So you could use that opportunity on Saturday to test the wheels a little bit, to try to throw some faster paces down and see where that lands. Or if you're just kind of starting out, or like I said, you had a bumpy road over the Christmas holiday, then you can just use it to just go, okay, this is my baseline, this is where I'm starting from, and then we'll go 3 weeks to go from there, map out a plan.
What's the training schedule that people should kind of follow then for the next 3 weeks as they prepare for the Gate River Run?
Yeah, I know it kind of runs the gamut, right? Some people will be coming off of some other races, maybe some longer distances in the fall. And so for some people, this will be dropping down a little bit. But for others, again, if this is your first time, not to be intimidated by the distance. If you started with the 5K this weekend, then you want to probably get in, I'd say like 3 or 4 good runs a week. You don't have to be running every day, and not every day has to be hard. I'd say just try to get in some solid efforts. You don't even have to do miles per se. You could go for minutes. So let's say maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, working your way up to that hour mark. And so we can talk about what kind of the next several weekends would look like. Going from that 5K is just sort of gradually bumping up what I would call your long run. So you would like to have, like I said, a couple, 30 to 45-minute runs that could be base runs during the week. And then on the weekend, taking that 5K and starting to go up to 6, 7, 8 miles. Some people like to take the approach of, working up to 10 and then you're dropping down just slightly to do that 9.3. But others, will work their way up to 8 and then just go, okay, I know that I'm just 1 mile, 1.3 miles away from making that 15K distance, with one major challenge at the finish line. And we can talk about that.
Yeah, before we talk about that, but it sounds like I think a lot of people, when they think about this 15K and they hear 9 miles, it can be a little daunting. But it really does sound like you don't have to be an expert runner. Anyone could really just have to lace up their shoes and get out there. It doesn't sound as daunting to really train for this race, even with 1 month to go.
Yeah, I mean, what I've been in Jacksonville a long time, and what I've observed is, and I always call this running season in Jacksonville because this really is when the humidity is the
Mhm.
lowest. Despite that little cold spell we just had. it's pleasant out, and you can run almost any time of day. You don't have to go first thing in the morning. So, it really is a nice time of year to, even if you haven't been doing a lot of mileage, to just start logging those base runs. It usually feels pretty good. But I think the main thing to keep in mind is that, again, that gradual progression, just bumping it up just a little bit each week, and trying not to be daunted by the distance, because really I like to break in my mind into just 3 5Ks. And I know people can say, well, Julie, that's easy for you to say. You've been running for a long time, but you just kind of take it in smaller bites. And so 3 5Ks, and the course is almost, if you look at a map, really you can distinguish those 3 5Ks. It's 3 different areas of town. And so while you're training, kind of keep that in mind, even if you break your run in your mind into 10-minute blocks or 1 mile blocks in your mind, that'll help you to get thinking about breaking the 15K into 3 5K chunks.
You make it sound so simple. Hopefully I'm not, hopefully I could just like think about that each 5K and then check, and then hopefully I can stop and then check in with you guys so I get a little bit of a break throughout the race. Um, but we kind of just mentioned it, the kind of icon of the Gate River Run is going to be the Hart Bridge. You look at it and whenever I drive over it, I'm like, oh, this doesn't look that bad. But I've heard when you're actually running or walking it, it is steep and scary. And I know Justin Barney will be at the top of the Hart Bridge doing live shots with you guys. I mean, how do you attack that? And should you just say a prayer and hope you can finish?
I've heard a lot of things said on the bridge. And a lot of things have been thought, for sure. I did research it once. I wrote an article about it one year about how steep it is. It's the second steepest bridge in town that I'm aware of, but it's the only one that's runnable, and it's only runnable on this day of the year. And so it's not like anyone really can go be doing repeats on it and be practicing. But so it's a pretty steep pitch, and it's about a 1,200-meter climb. So to give you an idea, that's about 3 laps on the track. But here's the good news. They say everybody wants the view, but nobody wants the climb. But the view at the top is pretty amazing. And you've got a nice 1 mile downhill cruise into the finish line. So if you can just tackle that, again, in your mind, break it apart, 3 laps on the track worth of climbing. So what I recommend is starting to add, I know I've mentioned these easy runs, but starting to add into your run a bridge. There are several in town that are pretty easy to access. The Beach Boulevard Bridge has a nice shoulder that's completely safe to run. You're going to see a lot of runners running loops on that over the next couple of weeks. And I think that's what I started to say. This is running season in Jacksonville, and you're going to see a lot of people out over the next 3 weeks. And then there will be a quiet there will be a quiet spell where the hardcore runners that'll be tackling marathons and things like that will be that. But that's what my point is. Everybody's gearing up for the Gate River Run. There's so much hype around this, and even again, if you haven't been training since last year and all of a sudden it snuck up on you again, it's okay. So I recommend those couple easy days a week and thinking about adding in a bridge. And with the fact that that falls near the end of the race, I like to think about adding in a hill near the end of your run. And so that sounds really challenging, but again, it will mentally prepare you for on the day what you're going to be approaching, instead of lining up on the start line going, oh no, the Hart Bridge. One thing we can count on is that it's going to be there, and it's always rewarding every single time.
Well, hopefully I'm thinking about how rewarding it is when I finally get to the top. I know for a fact I'll be stopping and talking to Justin because I am terrified. That's the one thing I'm terrified for, is the Hart Bridge. But Julie, if people want to get, if they want to follow you, if they want to get a hold of you, I know you're a coach, how could they contact you?
Sure. I'm Coach Stackhouse on Instagram, and my website is Get Stacked Now, Stackhouse Fitness. And so feel free to reach out if you want any more tips. And I know we're going to be running a little series, continuing to update you on training tips as the race draws closer. And one thing I will mention, since you brought it up, I know you'll be running with the camera and you will be talking as you go. That's kind of a good rule of thumb while you're doing your training over the next few weeks. Is I always like to say conversational pace meaning you're running with a friend, or even if you're not running with a friend, you're running solo, you'd want to be kind of going at a pace that you feel like you could hold a little bit of a conversation. And so kind of keep that tip in mind. It's a good sort of beginner tip, as opposed to having to hit a certain pace or worry about heart rate training. Just kind of think about a good conversational pace as you're heading into these runs. The caveat to that will be when you're doing bridge work. It's okay not to talk on a bridge.
Ah, there you go. So we get a little sun piece. Next week, we are going to be talking more about how to prepare for the Gate River Run. So make sure you tune in right back here on News for Jax. Julie, thank you so much. I'm excited about our conversation next week.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.